2020 Parks, Recreation, and Public Spaces Committee meeting. Item 1 on the agenda today is request to address the committee, which I don't think we have any of those, so we'll go right into our second item, which is Citizen-Led Projects. We have Ms. Hillary Cannon here today that I believe would like to speak. This is up here.
I'm Hillary Cannon. I'm at 3805 Hazel. I'm speaking today on 3 updates to Citizen-Led Projects. I'm part of Norwood Together. I'm on the board of Norwood Together, and we're working with ASAP Norwood and some other groups on a variety of projects. First up, the ASAP Parks audit that's been ongoing. I'm sure you've heard updates before. All of the audits are back for that audit. They had a bunch of volunteers go out into the parks and determine the conditions, and all of that data is back. Donna Lake and Kate Wetzel, who have been leading that project, they're compiling that data and hope to have a report to you by your next committee meeting. The second update is on the ongoing cleanup work at Lindner Park. So we had work dates every Friday in September. We had one this past Saturday, and there are 2 more work days this month, October 17th and October 24th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. All of those work days, they've had about 40 people come out to clear trails and cut down invasive species and just all kinds of stuff. REI has been leading up that effort, but Norwood Together, ASAP, and also the city, Clint Zimmerman with Public Works, man, he has been doing great work and coordinating with us on all of that. They have chipped out 3 truckloads of honeysuckle so far. So we're really happy about that, and we just are really grateful to all the people that have come out and for the city for working with us.
What's the dates you said that had left on it?
October 17th and October 24th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And on October 24th, that will be part of Xavier Community Action Day. So there'll be at least 10 volunteers from Xavier coming out to join us in that effort.
Nice.
And then I wanted to speak a little bit moving forward, looking ahead to 2021. So Norwood Together in what year are we in? We're in 2020. In 2019, Norwood Together organized a citywide cleanup. We did a Montgomery Road cleanup, and we were out in almost all the parks. We weren't at Lindner, but other than that, I think we were out in all the parks. Actually, many of you guys were out there helping us with it, so thank you. We had hoped to do that again in 2020. COVID happened. That didn't happen. But we were able to get out in Hunter this year. We've done this work in Lindner. And going into 2021, knowing more about COVID now, we know we can do outdoor activities. We want to plan a citywide cleanup for the spring. So we reached out to Clint Zimmerman, and we'll be working with him to schedule a date. So probably after the first of the year, January, February, we'll be meeting with him to schedule a date for the spring, probably late March, early April, for that citywide cleanup where we'd be out in all the parks. And then we'll also be working with Public Works and city administration to coordinate monthly work days, May to September, to kind of hit all the parks across the city. So as I said, we're planning to coordinate with the city to determine which parks need the love, which parks need us to be out cleaning them up in kind of mass force. And the goal would be to have a standing date, like every second Saturday or something. That's to be determined, but that's the idea. So that every month we're getting volunteers in the parks taking care of them. The city has been wonderful to work with, and we're really grateful for that partnership.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, we got to talk about when I first came in, that we were excited for, that unfortunately didn't get to happen. But I think it's going to be great every year in the spring just to get in and get the parks cleaned. So that way we can hit the year with clean, fresh parks that parents can go to with their kids and enjoy. And doing the monthly thing I think is awesome, because then it'll kind of maintain that effort. So it's not just every year we're out there cleaning. It'll kind of be, monitored and taken care of. And hopefully that'll, I think you said it before, get people to kind of champion that park and kind of adopt that park.
Yeah, I think that was what we saw with like Hunter, right? There's been
Yeah.
people who are really cared about that and have continued to do work even after that one day that we had. So, and certainly that's Kate Wetzel actually is a great example. She got very interested in Burwood, and here she is leading the parks audit. So it's the goal. Hopefully it will continue to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right, so that moves us to our third agenda item. There's a Hunter Park update. So Clint reached out to me and notified me that our friends at JMA told him that doing the walking path in 2020 would not be possible. COVID happened and people weren't getting some construction jobs, and now I guess they're more comfortable and they're out getting more bids and jobs, so that would push us back. We wouldn't be able to get it done. So one of the changes that we can make, and I think it's the change we're going to have to do to use that grant, utilize it, and the money would still be going to the park the same way, just at a different time, kind of flip-flopping them, is for phase one, instead of getting the walking path installed and getting some of the outdoor fitness equipment along it, phase one, instead we'll use that $27,000 grant to get some park equipment, and that park equipment would be installed early 2021. So it would be purchased in 2020, and we plan with them for a date to install it like late January, early February. So that way we can work on other stuff to get phase two done, which phase two would then be the walking path and the fitness equipment. So we're still planning it and going to seek bids for it, but it's just going to happen at phase two instead of phase one, which ultimately will end up being a matter of probably 4 or 5 months difference time. It just really sucks because I was hoping to get that walking path in so people would see right now some change. Like, hey, there's something there. They're moving, they're making progress there. So I think what we can do though is be very diligent with the residents that, hey, we had to make this change. There's a park renovation still happening here. It's just coming in a different kind of order, and once I get I gotta get Clint a list of kind of the style of equipment we want, and JMA is going to put it out for bids for different companies to try to get us the best deal and all that. So once we do have the equipment that we're getting, I think putting that out and kind of some kind of a graphic online so people can see, hey, this is what's coming right into 2021, and then locking in somebody that's going to do the walking path, planning it out, saying, all right, let's get us on your books for this month or whatever, and having that information give, I think, is going to be kind of the most successful route there. You guys have any thoughts?
What's the drainage plan down at Burwood? Is it
We're going to
going to be like a dry creek or something, or is it going to
We're
just
not there
be?
yet, Matt.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
there yet. Hunter questions. Any?
Actually, I think it's fine, and it's not really a question. That's the timeline that it's going to be,
Yeah.
and that's the timeline it's going to be.
And that works because the equipment that we're looking at is ADA, and the walking path is ADA, so it's just, all right, well, instead of getting the walking path right now, we're going to get the equipment, and then we'll spend money on the walking path. It's just flip-flopping it.
Was there a reason that I'm sensing you feel kind of down about it, but it feels like Hunter Park will be completed around the same time that Hunter Park was going to be completed anyway.
Yeah,
So I know that they flopped, but
you're absolutely correct.
you seem down.
Yes, because I wanted to get the walking path done. I wanted to get it in this year before the winter months, and then before we have to wait and then start working on parks again in the spring. So the people around Hunter Park and the people that took part in the survey and everybody can go by and say, hey, there's something there. Mm-hmm. They've broken ground on it. Change is coming now, rather than telling them, hey, we got park equipment. That's what I'm saying. So when we get, okay, this is the park equipment we're getting, putting that out on a graphic, promoting that, saying, hey, this is what's coming to Hunter Park.
Sure.
And then just kind of getting that plan out there, maybe getting what they did at Burwood, they did that
Banner thing.
like the big banner thing that has like a list of stuff that's coming and when. I think it's something that we should look at doing, so that way, the residents around there see that visual and say, okay, this stuff is coming here. you know, because I think we're gonna have some people like, where's the walking path? We said we're getting a walking path, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's
only
why I'm
like
bummed
8
about it.
weeks
Yeah.
difference. I mean, that's not a short time, but it's also not an incredibly long time.
Yeah.
I understand the need to get people excited, and
Yeah.
it is exciting. You did a lot of great work there. I just don't want to spend too much money on a banner when it's only a small
No, we'll
time
be looking
period.
at cheap banners, man, like, probably like, maybe even have somebody donate some funds to get
Sounds
one.
good.
Not sitting, like,
There
we're
you
talking
go.
like quick Vista print, something, throw up so people can see. I think it's important.
Cool.
But yeah, other than that, is there any questions? I had a nice visual that I'm still going to give you guys. I'm probably going to have to send it via email now because I got to go in and change. So I got it's pretty much like, I'm not an engineer, but it's pretty cool, I think. It's like I did for Lisa Tanner Park, where it's like an aerial view.
Yes.
And it's going to have everything listed and the key at the bottom that says what's what and what phase it's in. So now I got to go in and switch some of those items, but that'll be sent out to you guys over email. And then it'll also go to John Murphy, the mayor, Tom Perry, Clint Zimmerman, and all that. So don't have it here, but it'll happen. So any other questions? I kind of want to just bring that information out so everybody knows. And
I was
if
gonna
anybody
say,
has,
you hadn't mentioned it on here, but it would be great once that the major things are done, if we could maybe partner with somebody who'd like to help put in some landscaping or
yeah,
trees or things like that too, that'll
Yeah.
just kind of put a bow on everything too.
yeah. So with that, Norwood together, I talked to Mary C. Miller the other day on the phone, and one of the items that was voted on that people want to see there is a community garden, and they're going to work on what they can do to make that happen. I'm going to meet with her. I was hoping she was going to be here tonight to kind of talk about it, but I'm going to meet with her, and they're going to coordinate and plan and all that. And do you have information on this? Yeah. So Hillary, if you want to give a little bit of insight, I didn't know if you would have that yet.
Mary C. and I talked about it briefly,
Yeah.
but she mentioned it, and we are happy to try to help coordinate. We have some volunteers who do work at the existing community garden down at Williams, so
Yeah.
we might be able to kind of lean on them as experts, and if we can find a champion up there
Yeah.
because it is easier to care for a community garden if you live close to it, right? But we're happy to help coordinate that and work with you on it. To your point, Eric, about, I should have mentioned this with the updates, but I was trying to be brief, about the landscaping and stuff. So this is something I sent in an email to Clint Zimmerman today, when we were communicating about the planning for next year. Norwood Together is starting to look at, we're always looking for grant opportunities or donations or anything like that. So we are a 501c3, so we have opportunities that other organizations don't always have. So what I told Clint is if there are needs that aren't in the city's budget, to let us know about that. We can't guarantee anything, of course, but we can try.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, is to try to partner with that. And it also helps a project like this at Hunter. So if you're already budgeting this much money for this park, right, and you can say that you have this investment, then we can go to a donor or to a grant delivering organization and say, well, look, the city's already investing this much, this would be a match, right?
Yeah.
So if this group, I would extend that offer to this group as well. If you've got a wish list, if you can communicate that with me or Mary C. I think most of you have communicated with me by email anyway, but I'm hrcopsy@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or Norwood Together @gmail too. We definitely, we want to work off of those needs.
Yeah. So something that's going to be going out to some of you guys, and Mr. Tracy's on that too, is like just the people that are actively engaged in doing the Hunter Park project. Was going to be info about the community garden. I just got a chance to speak with Miss Miller before then, so we were able to sure that avenue it up. But another ask to Norwood Together was going to be flowers, like by the benches, like some nice flower pots with some flowers in it. The landscaping thing, it wasn't really on my radar, so I appreciate that input because that's something that I didn't know we could look into, which will be nice because you guys will have, everybody will have a map of pretty much what it's going to look like. So it'll be easy to then go say, okay, this is an area that we can landscape and this, and so I think that'll be really, really cool if we can get something like that done.
Can you send that map to
Yeah.
us too?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So once I switch the phase, like what's gonna be in what phase, because we had to change it, then it'll be sent out, and you guys will get it, the committee will get it, and then the administration's gonna get it. So that way everybody's now updated on the same page, and that's where I was gonna include the ask for the flowers. So we're gonna get 6 benches, 3 on each side of the walking path, and I wanna get like flower pots next to each, on both sides of each bench. And I was gonna include that into like the community garden ask for Norwood Together. But that's what I'm planning on doing for that is, we have everything planned out like that we're going to do. The only ask that was gonna be was for Norwood Together for the community garden and the flowers by the bench, the bench side flowers we'll call them. So I made a note to put landscaping on there too. ASAP Norwood's involved. I asked, elevations, the Jameses, if they want to be involved. Even if it's just community outreach and promoting and, the other park cleanup coming up, park opening, or even if they can find some grant money, just opening it up to all so that way everybody has an opportunity to be involved in it and to contribute in some way. So all that information will be going out to all those individuals, and then there will kind of just be like at the end like an open ask for like elevations and ASAP of what can you do or what would you want to do or how can you add to a little bit. So there will be kind of like a wish list ask going out, like some of the other things like you said, kind of like to put a bow on it and make it look real nice. So
Cool.
anything else on Hunter? Are we pretty good on there?
More than.
All right. So with that, I would like to talk about this. It wasn't just necessarily on the agenda tonight, but if everybody's cool with it, I would like to talk about it. It's just like kind of like our end of 2020, going into 2021 plan that Mr. DiNardo talked about on the Finance Committee. So kind of what I got on here is, so Burwood Drainage, Mr. Tracy. October, November timeline per Mr. Zimmerman. They have a couple people out right now, so they're doing what they can. They're working hard. They're in a lot of different areas. But he did say he wants to get that done in October, but if not, by November would kind of be when that would be done, when that would be in. As far as your other question, I don't know.
He gave a little bit of a, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so Mr. DiNardo might be able to answer that one better, like on what type of drain it is. So if you want to go ahead.
Yep, you were there. We went out to Burwood with Clint, and we first asked him, this has come 7-8 months ago, about the dry creek bed. And the dry creek bed concept was something like the Smale or Smalley, I'm probably mispronouncing that, where you have stones that kind of act as drainage, but they're large enough that they don't pose any real hazards to kids being in them. And so it actually, if it rains a lot, can be kind of a cool water feature for children too. Unfortunately, the cost of that was way more than we had discussed when we were divvying out at like kind of the plan.
Yeah.
The committee meeting that we had March, April, I'm probably getting those dates wrong, we had a number that was well below 20,000 for Burwood because we had already done some of that partitioning out. The bids that he got in for us exceeded 40,000. So that kind of scrapped that idea. And to do it in the budget that we were given, he came up with 2 types of drain systems that he's going to put together, mostly with in-house labor. Something called a French drain. Didn't really know what this was, but okay, you're shaking your head, so you do. I didn't. Using basically a trench digger, doing some shaping, but mostly it would just funnel like actual piping underneath. And that would go from, if you know Burwood, it would go from the corner of the pool facing kind of like a northeast angle, and then it would hit to basically where the shelter house is, towards the northern parking lot, I guess, and then there would be another actual drain that would continue on to take the water completely out of there. That was a much more cost-effective solution to the actual draining problem. Two comments on that. One, it makes the front area that has like the new play equipment and kind of the green space and the basketball hoops, and then we plan to do the painting and do something with the pool fill-in, or the pool, whether it be that was the fill-in that we saw the Burwood champion survey kind of send back as an option. But we also didn't have the money for that. So this was kind of phase one of probably a lot of phases that may outlast this term. But the first thing was addressing the drainage, and that front area is going to be addressed. I bring that up because a lot of people talk about the back, where, hey, that's still swampy too. That's still going to be swampy after this is done. This was just kind of a solution that, again, I think Clint's ideation, working with the budget that he had, is pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. So that's kind of where we're at. So I think that answered the what and kind of how he worked within the budget that he was working with.
So it's still going to be grass there.
Yep. The French drain concept basically will look a lot like it does today. So it won't be a whole lot of different in terms of the aesthetics. It will just be less mosquitoes and less swamping around, which is kind of the point, to make it more attractive. As evidenced by, I talked to somebody just like 2 weeks ago whose property backs up against that, and actually that was her complaint. I did know her, admittedly, so it was a little bit of like a biased chat, but we were talking about, do you use it? And she's like, yeah, but if it rains, then the kids get bit up. So that was just, I think that and I told her, hopefully, this front section will see a very significant and immediate improvement beyond just the fact that it got cold. So.
Yeah. All right, awesome. That was very insightful.
I had a comment that I know it's not on this list, and by the way, thanks for doing this, because I did ask for a schedule, and this goes into second quarter 2021. For things, I'm not really specifically talking about addressing the pool at Burwood or addressing the pool at Victory Park, but just as a general comment, maybe by the end of this year, we as a committee should fill out the rest of our schedule as we see it, and then submit it to Clint for him to say yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah,
I think that'd be kind of cool, just to start putting, because this is great, but I think we still have another 2.5 quarters that we could be playing with to start talking about things like, okay, now that Hunter's looking good, I'd love to talk about Burwood more. I know Victory Park was something that people wanted to keep talking about, and there's probably 3 or 4 other parks that we haven't been talking about. So I think just, let's flesh out the rest of that year. I think we got a really cool second half of this piece of paper to play with. So
Yeah.
that doesn't take away from the work he did. It's just, let's finish it out.
Yeah, no, this is just a starter. This is just getting stuff down that I know of right now. So the one item from 2020, these are just big items. These aren't like every little itty bitty thing.
Yeah.
These are just like the big things that could be time consuming or are going to be, widely talked about. And the second part is going to be Hunter Park Phase 1, which again, purchasing the park equipment with the $27,000 grant that we got for a January, February install. And some people might think, well, that's early. That's kind of, doesn't seem right. But, as Mr. Donardo and I know, it's possible.
Yeah.
We had to do it right when we came in. So that's why I'm like, we're going to do it then. We're going to install it then. And then right into 2021, that's where one of the first things I would like to see is the Hunter Park Phase 2, which is the walking path and workout equipment. Have that installed by February, March. So that way that's going, so we got to place that stuff there. Then we got the walking path and workout equipment there. And then Phase 3, which is like the shelter and the middle kind of sunshade thing we're going to put in there. Community garden, I believe, is Phase 2, so that way people can get in and start planting some flowers and stuff during the time that it's good to plant. And then what's not on here is Phase 3, and that's the dog park, because like we talked about, where we wanted to try to get any grants we can. So
Yeah, and if we can get most of the grant money, I'm hoping 100% of grant money to pay for
Yeah.
the entire park, or for the entire dog park,
yeah,
that I can actually say there's going to be no charge for residents,
yeah.
and it'll be free for the
Yeah.
residents of the city.
And then, so another cool project that I want to try to do, and I think we need to start grant finding now. And this is another thing I was able to talk to Mary C. Miller about, where she's going to look into some grants. It's going to take city grants. It's going to take city money. It's going to take volunteer group grants that they can get. We have money aside for all new lighting at the Waterworks baseball fields. In the past, I was told that the lenders kind of donated those, and that could be a pricey expenditure. So we're hoping maybe we get something like that again, and then we can use that money for fencing. The fencing around all these baseball fields down there is very poor. Some of the backstops are curled up. I know the dugout fencing is curled up, and it's been a hazard in the past. We've had players and coaches get injured on it. The dugouts get filled up easily when it rains, and it turns into swamps. So even if the field's playable, the dugout is like, you can't really utilize it.
Sure.
Because it's so much of a river. That I would like to do new fences, or new fencing with home run fences around each park, and poured concrete dugout slabs for where the bench is and all that. So we instantly kind of upgrade our baseball fields. We can get sponsorship banners and stuff to go along the outfield, home run fencing type of deal. And I think working together, the city and volunteer organizations on this, trying to get any grant money we can, working with, people like the lenders have been generous to Norwood, especially the parks in the past. That's something we can plan, like start planning now. And then right in the start of 2021, having a plan together to kind of execute that. And that's not going to take public works man hours. Neither is the hunter stuff. And then the last little point I have on here on this schedule is begin planning the first park or parks project and the parks renovation plan with the results from the survey. And I put on here tentatively like December, January, because I didn't know if she was going to give an update, but since we'll have that in November, we can start planning that in December. And I want to break ground on that by, April, which means have them installing it. So we can go through the plan phase. Hey, this is the park we're doing. We can go through a couple months of the plan phase and get ideas, get surveys out, plan it, and have them start going on that. And I also made a little bit of note on mine, possibility of a second park, because I did have the S in parentheses. If the money's not there for a second park, maybe seeing if we can grant find to maybe do a second park, with grants or even matching grants and stuff like that. But that would be dependent on the size of the park, the needs of the park, and how much money we end up spending on that park with what we have left over. Can we do a second park, a smaller second park kind of thing? So that's something I want us to be worrying about or thinking about. And we can possibly start talking about that at our November meeting. So, and I put a note on here as well. So for the November meeting, build off of this schedule and submit it to Clint. I took a note of what you said. So that's something we can do is I can bring this and we can I can put notes in of things we want. And that's where I have the potential updated capital improvements list that Mr. Stith sent me that will be affected by what we want to see here, obviously. And then he can go use that to kind of change and move things around as well. So.
And the third obvious triangulation point, I suppose, is the parks renovation plan. So between those three documents, I think is a useful strategy.
Yeah.
And I know you know that, but I was just tying in, there's a third.
We'll have this, we'll have that list, and we'll have this start of the schedule, and that's what we'll be talking about. And that way we'll be able to formulate this schedule together, and it's not just me doing it, which to me is important. That everybody kind of has their needs and they're represented on, the areas that they care about, like Burwood and, maybe it's Fenwick. Hey, they're both on the list, let's start planning stuff there, and we're doing this as a team, not just one person. Like some of these projects, like the renovation, I don't mind doing a lot more of the work there, but when it comes to what's getting done, I do want everybody to have, their say and their projects that they want represented. So I think that's a good start, and that's what we'll lead in with on the November meeting, is the beginning of our schedule, talking our capital improvements plan, not just 2021, but 2022. We'll get into that, I'm sure. And, yeah,
Good job.
sounds good. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns, things they want to throw in?
On this
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah, just anything.
I would suppose we should talk about the bike racks, because that was asked of us.
Well, it wasn't, that's gonna be on November.
Okay.
Because it wasn't on here to be thrown in.
That's cool.
And I'm sure Mr. Gabbard has some stuff he wants to send,
Okay.
to bring in with it, and I would like, those guys to be able to come talk and give kind of a better explanation
That's
or
smart. Cool.
what they wanna do. So that's why I didn't have it tonight. But, yeah, that's something definitely we want to talk. I think that's gonna be really good for the city. So that's
Glad you
something
feel
I
that
think
way.
that we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about in here.
Cool.
So, next time.
Sweet.
All right, so I'm gonna do this. All right, if that's it, then we'll go ahead and conclude this Parks, Recreation, and Public Spaces Committee meeting.